Recording. So let's hit record and make sure I've got that going on. All right. So Morgan and I met kind of randomly about 2 years ago. She posted something on a Facebook running group that I'm in, just saying that she was new in town. And I think I was like Facebook stalking her profile or something and saw makeup artist and sent her a message. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I need a makeup artist. And so she's been my go-to for the last 2 years almost. I think May, I looked the other day because I was curious. I think May is like 2 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like it was really quick after we moved here. It felt very like a God thing, I guess. Like it was like I posted about looking for like a trail to run with my double stroller. And you guys that ever run with a double stroller, they're gigantic. And I was like, hey, are there like places I should like stay away from? And then Brittany's like, you're a makeup artist?
Yeah.
I was like, yes. So
it was it's about who you know, right?
Yes, exactly.
So I invited Morgan here to chat with us a little bit tonight. So she's got a presentation together, and I'll let her do her thing, and then we can ask any questions and go from there. So I'm going to make Morgan big here, I think, and let her get going.
All right. Okay, guys, so I am very excited and very nervous to be talking to you guys today. I'm glad. I feel like I've done, at least on the Zoom group, I've done all of you guys' makeup and I've met you guys. So that makes me feel a little bit better. But if we haven't, gotten to meet, if you're like watching this on Facebook and you don't know me, I've been a makeup artist for about a decade now. I got into it purely just being like an entrepreneurial spirit. I was like 15 or 16 and my friends would be like, hey, you're pretty good at doing your hair and makeup. Will you do mine? And I was like, yeah, I will. You got $20 in your wallet, I'll do your hair and makeup for prom. So that was kind of how I got started. And then I went to, after college, I went to beauty school in Tulsa, Oklahoma at Clary Sage College. And then I went to skincare specialist school in Florida. But I graduated when I was 9 months pregnant, so I've never worked as an esthetician, but I keep that license around just in case. So what I love about makeup is genuinely I feel like you can see like a transformation, and it's not just the obvious physical one, but I love it when a client, I can tell that they're like, oh, hey, now I'm looking cute, I'm looking good, and like you can tell that they have that confidence radiating from inside, and that's truly the best part. So today I'm going to try to, speak quickly and kind of be as concise as possible so that if you guys have any questions, I can answer them as best of my ability. And if there's something I'm not really sure of, then I'll, make sure you guys have my email address so that I can maybe do a little bit more research, because I definitely wouldn't want to answer something wrong and then, send you off to do something crazy. So today I was going to kind of focus on basically creating a polished look that is more suited to maybe like the workplace, or like if you're like right now, like we're on a Zoom call, pretty much enhancing like what you have naturally going on. I think that's what people usually hire me for. I'm not usually like your person that you would go to if you wanted like a Kim Kardashian look. Like I could do that for you, but I'm not really the makeup artist for that. You know what I mean? So to get started, first off, when you're going to do a clean polished makeup look, or really any makeup look, you're going to need to start with clean skin, which seems obvious, but it's not always obvious to some people. So I like to go ahead and I'll cleanse, I'll tone, and then once or twice a week, I will use an exfoliator. And a lot of times I'll either use Sex Appeal by Sonia Roselli, or I'll use, it's like this, it's from the original and it looks like a blood mask almost, but it's not, don't worry. And it's like a nice chemical exfoliant. And I only do that like twice a week, and I've had pretty good success with it. Sorry, I've got my notepad down here, so that's why I keep looking down. And then you tone again after, if you have exfoliated, you're going to want to tone again to restore that pH balance on your skin, and then moisturize. Then you're going to want to let that moisturizer sit in. So sometimes, typically what I'll do is I'll like brush my teeth, wash my face, get my moisturizer on, and then I'll like pick out my clothes so that it gives like the moisturizer a couple seconds to get set in. And then I'll come back, and that's when if I'm going to use a primer that day, then I will. But what's nice about if you start taking care of your skin, then you probably won't need a primer, like unless you are just an oil slick, or you have like some kind of issue, or maybe you just have like acne scars or something like that, then and that you're a little self-conscious about, then you might not even need a primer, which is great because you don't have to spend the money on it. And it's a one less step you have to do. And then the first thing that I really, really love to do for like really skin focused looks is using a colored primer. And it's or a color, it's color, words are hard, or it's called like a color corrector. And I've written them down just so I don't forget them. But basically, it's if you can picture the color wheel, or you can even like Google a picture of the color wheel, then you can kind of figure out what you need to do. So, like a lot of women will get hormonal redness around the nose, or they'll maybe have like a little bit of rosacea on the cheeks, or even like just straight up pimples that are kind of red sometimes. So, for that, you would use a green, and it's, opposite, on the color wheel. And then for like if you've got like, let's say you have like underneath their eyes, a lot of women, especially this would be more geared towards women who have like lighter skin. If you've got like, purples and blues underneath your eyes, then you might want to use like a yellow or even a peach. And that just kind of depends on like if it's more purple or if it's more blue. And you might have to kind of play around with that to get that correct. But it's, that will help knock that out. And then a lot of times all you need is like a color corrector underneath the eyes. And then you might not even need concealer there. Like you might just be like, okay, that's good. Like I've done makeup for a ton of people that I'm like, okay, they've got some pretty, serious dark circles under their eyes. And then I'll put like just a color corrector on and I'm like, they don't need concealer. I'm just going to put base on them. That completely knocked it out. And I mean, the less makeup underneath your eyes, the better. Cause that's where like we can really, sometimes like stuff will get stuck on like your fine lines, and that's what will aid you with your makeup application. And then if you've got, so if you are tending to be like a really sallow or like a yellow and you're wanting to kind of brighten that skin up, then you would use like it looks like a lavender, like they say purple, but it's like a light purple. And then an orange, this would be geared toward more women of color. And if you've got like really dark circles under your eyes, then you could actually straight up use an orange and sometimes even a red. And like I don't do this, but I've seen people like put like red lipstick under the eyes to color correct. And I'm like, it's not made for that. Don't do that. And some lipsticks have like peppermint oil and stuff like that in it, and you don't want that by your eyes, trust me. But yeah, I mean, even orange will, and you can actually even use that on like dark spots. I'm sorry, my dog heard a leaf blow 5 miles away, so now she's freaking out. And then another color that I personally like to use like on myself and on a lot of my lighter skin clients, Mindy, that's enough, is I'll use like a salmony or like kind of like a peachy color. And I actually used it on Patricia today. And it was perfect because we just put that on there and it was knocked that out. And like I said, you might have to kind of play around with it. If you've got really dry skin, I would suggest finding a cream base. And that's for pretty much everything. Like if you are the type of person that gets really dry, you're going to want cream because your skin is going to just suck that moisture right on in. And that's, so if you've got a cream product, that's great. There's moisture to suck in. But if you're using like a powder product, there ain't no moisture and your skin's going to be like, please drink some water, please douse me with something. If you, now to move on, so after you've gotten your skin corrector, and like, you've used your fingers or you've used your brushes to apply that, then that's when you're going to kind of decide, do I need something with, like for my foundation, do I need something that's a little bit more heavy coverage? Do I need something that's a little bit more lighter? Like for instance, for myself, I tend to have a decent skin. Like I get like hormonal breakouts, like, like that. But I like my freckles and I'm not trying to hide them. So I pretty much exclusively wear like a BB cream, but you can also wear like a CC cream. CC stands for color corrector cream. And that can be really nice. That's like a little bit less coverage than a BB cream. And a BB cream stands for beauty balm. And then a tinted moisturizer would be like even less coverage than a BB or a CC cream. And I like those during the summer because it's just like a little skin evening, but you're not looking cakey when you're like out at the river or something like that. But let's say that you are like, no, I really want to have like a little heavier coverage. I feel self-conscious, or I've got acne or acne scars, or maybe you just like how you look with a heavier coverage, and that's fine. That's whatever. And then again, like if you have like drier skin, I would really recommend looking for like a cream or even like some of the liquid foundations that those can help with like the appearance of dry skin too. And then of course, I don't recommend just like slapping a bunch of foundation on your face. Like it is much better to apply it in layers. And then you can kind of like gauge, okay, maybe I don't need as much face makeup as as I thought I did. And so yeah, that's kind of one of my tips and tricks, just like a little bit at a time and see what you need. And then, especially if you're maybe the kind of person who tends to go a little heavy, which I tend to kind of go heavy on myself sometimes, then that kind of will help you keep from going like full cake face. And if you like full cake face, that's fine too. I don't care, but just a tip. So if you are done with your makeup and you are still like, if you're done with your face makeup and you're like, you know what, I still feel like my eyes are a little bit like I need to like a little bit of brighter, and they still feel like I can see my dark circles, which is me. I like have them genetically, so I even if I'm like well rested, my under eyes are super dark. Then usually I feel like typically you will do concealer after foundation, but there are some concealers that are like they say that they're like, no, you should do it beforehand. And I can't think of like specific ones, but I worked with some before that were like you wanted to use them before the foundation. But generally, I like to do them after foundation just because I can kind of see maybe like the spots that I thought that I had aren't that bad, and or they're not that obvious. So I just need like a tiny amount of concealer. But if you like switch it, then you're going to have like a lot of concealer because you're like, no, I can see all those flaws without the foundation. So I hope that made sense. I'm probably talking too fast because I'm a nervous Nelly. So after you do your concealer and you've got your face makeup done, that's when you're going to want to powder. And powder is, it is like a for sure necessity if you're using a cream makeup. But I would say I really like to use, like, for instance, I've got like a tiny fan brush and I'll use that to apply powder. And that just makes it go on really light. And then again, you can go back on and add more powder. Or like you can do like what a lot of like Instagram artists, or like it goes back to like drag queens and stuff. They would bake and they would apply like a ton. And you can do that too. And then you just brush off the excess. And that's why I like a fan brush. I feel like it's very versatile for that. And I can't claim that. I got that from like an amazing makeup artist who's got like 30 years of experience. And so I really like to use that. But if you have really oily skin, then that might not be enough for you. And that's fine. Like my makeup instructor has super oily skin. So she uses like a matte foundation, and then she like takes her pressed powder and she's like, like she's really pressing it in there. And I mean, it lasts all day. So if you are really oily, I mean, maybe look for a pressed powder and apply that like that with a little poof, or, makeup sponge or something like that. But yeah, and if I would say that if you are concerned about the appearance of fine lines, then that is when you would really want to start like backing off of the powder, because that can really get trapped in those fine lines. And it's just, I mean, that's, to me, I'm like, that is like a surefire sign to be like, hey, everybody, look at my fine lines. So I really encourage just going ahead and like, if you're going to use it, be very sparingly, and maybe invest in like, I don't know, like a makeup spray, so that you can, just do it that way instead of using a powder. And then your makeup will still stay, but you won't have like that settling in your fine lines. So once you've gotten to that, then you are, and I'm not quite doing like, you might do this like in a different order, and that's okay. Like I just was kind of writing with like flow of thought. And sometimes on different people, I will do it in a different order. But for blush, what I really like, I've been really into cream blush lately, and it sounds kind of scary, but it's wonderful. And if you're just looking for like that perfect, like dewy, like this is my real skin, then you want to use a cream blush. And because it just like melts into the skin and it looks so pretty. And I'm Southern, so I really like to add like a little bit of powder blush on top, because I like to have keep that nice and pink. But yeah, so and again, like that's just like personal preference. Like I know that I've had clients that I've put too much blush on and they're like, can you take some of that off? And I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry, I forget. And then for eyeshadow, that is like kind of where you can get really, artistic. Like you can keep it as simple as you want. Like you can I don't even know how to, that might be something that maybe somebody has a question on that I can expand on, but I feel like there's so much with eyeshadow that you can go into. Um, I do think that I'm not always the idea of like, I don't love primers always, but I do think that if you're going to use one, then use it on your eyelids. And that's personally, like I have really oily lids. So like my mascara will like transfer all the time and it's really annoying. So I feel like that does help. Um, and if you're going for like, at the top of this where I had said that we're like focusing on being like more natural, more polished, then I would suggest like if you were like a more light-skinned woman, I would say that you would want to go for like more tans and browns and maybe even some like off whites, like if you're like me and you're like clear. So that just to keep it more natural, like tones that would exist in nature. And you're using those to create maybe like a little bit wider looking eye, maybe like you're using them to kind of, what's the word? Like just to kind of look a little bit more polished, like a little bit more put together. Like you're not worrying about creating a smoky eye. I would say that if you aren't like a huge makeup wearer, even just having like a few of those basic, more like natural colors would be a good thing to have in your makeup box. Um, and then if you are more of like a woman of color, then you would obviously go for like the darker browns and you would go for those, like if you're wanting to stay more natural. But you could, it's like sometimes women of color can even do like really pretty like burgundies and reds, and that'll still show up as pretty natural on them. And they're stunning. I love them. So one of the big things I wanted to talk about is highlight and contour, because a lot of women will come to me and they're either one, they want to be contoured to the gods, and I'm like, please don't make me do that. And then, or they'll be like, please don't contour me. Like, I think that looks weird. It looks fake. So highlight and contour like goes back to drag queens. And it was all about creating a new face shape, because obviously if you are, born as a man and you're trying to dress yourself up to look more female, like, I mean, men tend to have like a little bit wider jaws. They're going to have like that, like the sloping forehead thing. So like there's things that they're trying to do to like kind of recreate their face. And I mean, and they look beautiful, like it's awesome. But I don't like it when women use it to like completely change their appearance. Like, or they use it to like, they just think that, what's what I'm trying to say? I'm sorry, I'm like getting ahead of myself. Um, for instance, I'll have women with really small foreheads come to me and they'll tell me that they contour their foreheads. And I'm like, but why do you do that? And they're like, well, that's what so-and-so said to do. And I'm like, but you have a little forehead. Like I have a 5 head. Why are you like, I want your little forehead, Or when, women will come to me and like, they just contour, like, cause they're just slapping it on like it's one size fits all. And that's just not how it works. Like if you're wanting to be more chiseled, then you should follow like the natural line of your cheekbones. Or if you are self-conscious about your forehead, like if you're like me and you've got like this crazy hairline, then like you'll kind of go in and you'll just soften those edges, and it just creates a little bit of like the illusion basically. And like sometimes you can even get really good at like if maybe you have like I'm wanting to get a double chin from all this quarantine weight I'm gaining, so like sometimes you can even go in and like kind of contour that away, and like but it's not like a necessity. Like you don't have to do that. That's not like I don't think that people have to do that every day. That if you want to, that's awesome. If you feel prettier that way, heck yeah, go for it. But I just wanted to be clear on my stance on that. Like you don't have to do that. If you're interested in doing that, just make sure that you're not using a bronzer, because that tends to look really orange or it looks really brown. And this will sound really mean, but sometimes I'll see like people and it's like, looks like just like a Snickers bar with like smacked on their little cheeks. And I'm like, let's not do that. Like, let's just use, like, if you're like fair skinned like myself, then you're going to want to go for like a grayish. So like there's somewhere in between like a brown and like a gray. And it doesn't look like the prettiest color, but you're trying to create a shadow. So you're not trying to create like a bronzed look. Like you're not going to naturally get sun underneath your cheekbones. Does that make sense? So, and then if you're like a darker person, then you should definitely go, you're going to need warmth. If you go too cool, then that's when you start to appear kind of like ashy. So that's when, and all you would need to do is use like, a couple shades darker than what you have. And I mean, it's pretty simple. Like if you want to do that, I would suggest starting out with a powder, just because powder is easier to use and cream can be a little bit fussy, but cream does look more natural. So that's just, it's kind of give and take. You have to take the pros with the cons. So I wanted to talk about, and I'm sorry, I'm probably talking too much. So
I was just going to say, so we're getting pretty close to the half hour and I do have a couple questions. So whenever you find a good spot to like, wrap up.
no, I can be done. I feel like I didn't realize how long this was.
No, you were doing amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, I have a question from Anne Marie on Facebook.
Okay.
She says, if you didn't already cover it, could you touch on how to apply eyeshadow to look more awake or make your eyes look bigger?
Sure. So that kind of just depends on what your eye shape is. But generally, hold on, let me grab some eyeshadow real quick. Generally, you're going to go in and you can, I like to use a brush that's shaped more like this. I don't know if you can, I'm going to do that YouTube trick. And you're going to take, like, I'm just going to use this. It's a cool taupe color. I like to go in and go into the crease and push back. And then that's going to create a little bit more of like a wide open look. You're not going to want to use, and then you can actually even go in, I forgot about this. You can kind of go in with like a lighter color and highlight right here. And you can take it and you can go into your, into your little waterline area. You are not going to want to line your eyes in like black or brown eyeliner, or like a lot of women, it's a little bit not as in style now, but a lot of women will take like, and they'll line that waterline with black or brown, and that will really close your eyes off. But if you can find like a white or even better, like skin tone color, like I have one in my personal makeup kit that I use all the time if I can find it. But it's just literally like, I mean, it's just like skin tone color, and it will go in there and it will like make you look a little bit more awake, essentially. And then of course, curl your eyelashes and put some mascara on. And that's pretty much what you can do. I hope that answers your question.
And then Casey in the chat said, I've heard eye makeup before foundation and concealer,
That's just personal preference.
Okay. Which seems counterintuitive to me. So it's just a preference. It's not.
Yeah, it's just a preference. A lot of times I do eye makeup before, because you're right, like especially if you're doing like a smoky eye where there's going to be like fallout eventually. I mean, that's just a pain in the butt to have to go back and fix that. So yes, you are totally right. It's totally personal preference.
And then Carla wants to know, so is bronzer okay on olive or brown skin?
I'm assuming she means in trying to contour.
I think that's, I don't know if she's still here, but Carla, are you still here? No, she's not popping on.
I'm still here. I'm eating dinner. But yeah, no, it's because earlier you were saying that bronzer tends to, have that Snicker bar effect. And so I was trying to confirm that, is that usually only on like lighter skin, or is it on olive skin and browner skin too? Because I occasionally, when I put on makeup, I'll put on bronzer. And I'm not sure. I'm not good at makeup, sir. So I'm just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, no, honestly, for people that's a really good question, and one I hadn't even considered. I don't want to say it's probably fine. Like, it's for people that are like me, that it would look really, really bad. I would still say that if you're using it to contour, like not just using like it as, if you're just using it as like a bronzer, that's fine. That's great. I love to use bronzer because the good Lord knows I need it. But if you're using it to contour, then it doesn't look completely natural. But if you're pleased with the results and you like how it looks, then that's great. Like, it probably does look good. So it just completely depends on if you want to appear a little bit more natural, or if you're fine with it maybe not being completely natural. But yeah, on olive skin, it's probably a little bit, I would say it's probably fine. I feel like that really wasn't a very definitive answer. I'm sorry. Without being
it was fine. Because you're basically saying if you want more natural, maybe less bronzer, and more contour, more bronzer. So I think I get it.
Okay,
I'm following.
I'm glad. I hope I answered it.
All right, so this is one of my questions.
Okay.
What is one thing that you think women in their 30s or 40s should be doing for their skin that they are not doing?
That's a good question. I would say, I'm so sorry if you guys can hear my dog. She's really obnoxious. I would say that women in their 30s and 40s, honestly, that's when you kind of need to be doing some preventative stuff. Like, I mean, if you're gonna, like, it sounds bad, but I mean, if you're gonna like do Botox, you know, if you're gonna, I see somebody who said drink more water. Of course, that everybody could be doing better about that. I would say, I mean, like, truly, like, you need to come up, a skincare routine would probably be the best thing that you could be doing for your skin as well. And that's, you know, cleansing, and that's moisturizing, and that's exfoliating. And even if you feel like you have oily skin, you still need moisture. Like, so you might need to have to play around. Maybe you go see an esthetician that specializes in that. But yeah, I would say getting into a good skincare routine, and hopefully, you know, that would help keep your skin in check. And that's what I would say.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions? I have at least one more, but I figured I'd reach out and see if any of you guys are sitting on anything. No?
Something that I struggle with is that I like the look of like the smoky eyes, or having like where it's all like blended or like ombre on the eye. But when I try blending, it just comes right back off. Do I need to like prime differently, or is it a certain type of eyeshadow when you want to blend?
It's probably your eyeshadow. What, do you mind me asking what you're using?
I don't know, whatever I bought in high school.
I would say get something. I really like, for like personal use, I really like my Lorac. You don't have to get the pro. I just am, you know, a brat and I wanted it. So, but yeah, I would say that's a really nice one. If you want to spend a lot of money, but it's like really good stuff, get Visart. It's a French brand, and it's amazing. It's a lot of money, but it lasts forever, and it's great. And so yeah, I would say it's your eyeshadow. Yeah.
All right. So my other question was, and this is totally going to put me in that women 30s to 40s that need to come up with a skincare routine. But what is toner? Like,
toner is just something that will help rebalance the pH. Like, whenever you wash your face, and like whenever you're walking about and stuff like that, like your pH balance on your skin is being thrown off, and that's just going to help restore the pH balance to your skin. And it's not, you shouldn't use it as like your cleanser, but if your cleanser has missed anything, then it's going to help remove anything that's left behind.
okay.
And you can they have them for different things. Like, you can get like more of like an astringent one. I don't like those because they usually have a high alcohol content, which is drying. And that's something that's important. Like, you should definitely be like looking at the ingredients and like because it's just not good. But yeah, that's pretty much what it does. It's pretty great.
All right. So Anastasia on Facebook wants to know, is there anything you suggest for splotchy appearance in bare skin? I don't wear makeup most days, but I want some good skincare to help with splotchiness.
Okay, so this is where my never having worked as an esthetician comes back to bite me in the hiney. That is where you might need to go seek an esthetician who has worked as an esthetician and is currently practicing. I would say that there are definitely tools that they can use to help like improve the appearance and like help with the brightening of your skin. But if you are somebody that doesn't really like to wear makeup, but you do want to, that's where I would suggest adding a tinted moisturizer to your routine. So like after you've cleansed and toned, instead of using maybe like your regular moisturizer, that's when you would use your tinted moisturizer. And maybe it won't cover up all of like, you know, maybe your like quote unquote problem areas, but it will help with the appearance. And but yeah, I would definitely, like, if you're really concerned about it, like how with the appearance of your skin, and you'd like to go around without makeup and feel confident, I would definitely seek out like an esthetician or a facialist, and they could probably suggest some really good skincare stuff for you to do, maybe some peels or something fancy.
Okay, awesome. Carla wants to know, what's the best easy to find makeup brand and skincare brand? What do you recommend?
That's a really good question because it totally differs for everything. Generally, like if I need to go to the drugstore and I just am like, I don't care, like I just want to get I just need some drugstore makeup, I will tend to go towards Maybelline. And as for finding skincare, that's a really hard question for me to answer because without seeing you, it's hard to say. So that's when you kind of need to maybe, again, going to see an esthetician can help. But you need to identify, like, maybe you want the appearance of your pores to look smaller, or maybe you want to have less dry skin, or you want to have less oily skin. And then that's where you would that would be like the jumping off point. And I know that's not really like an answer to your question, and I would love to do some extra research on that for you. I know that people have found a lot of good resources via YouTube, and like even TikTok has like dermatologist TikTok, and they've had some really good options for people. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to say without seeing your skin in person.
All right. I think that's the last of the questions that I've got. Anybody, any other questions? Last call? No? All right, cool. Well, if they want to connect with you, outside of having their photos taken with me, how can they do that? How can they get in touch with you?
You can find me pretty much anywhere. You can find me on Instagram. It's just at, Morgan Makeup Artist, and it's all spelled normal. So, if you want to go, even if you have Brittany on Instagram, you can probably just go through her pictures and I'll be tagged and stuff. And then on Facebook, it's just Morgan Nichols, hair and makeup artist, or you can go to my website, www.morgannicholsmua.com.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording and end the live. So yeah, have a good weekend, and I appreciate y'all being here.
Thank you guys for coming and listening to me probably talking too fast.